What's up, boys? It's the TheDuelFactory once again, and in this video I am going to bring you an updated Dogmatika Zoo list like I said I did in the last video, because I actually got to go to locals for the first time in a couple weeks, or actually a couple months now I think about it. I had a lot of fun with the deck. I did go to Die Hard Games locals in Springfield, Illinois. As you know, all their links are always in my descriptions of all my videos, and I finally got to play for the first time in God knows how long. And I didn't, so my matchups were kind of weird. So I can't remember what was the first deck I played against. It was something interesting, but I played against a Dragon Link, Virtual World, Prank Kids, and then Avery. One of the guys I played against, he played a really interesting Win-Witch Magistus list. I do want to actually show you a version of that deck whenever I get a chance, but that's a topic for a different day. But I actually really liked how my deck performed. I thought it was really good, but as I was noticing like some of the stuff that I was playing in the deck, and I was thinking about it as I was playing, because there was a Drytron player there, but I didn't get to play against him. But I was thinking of like how my interactions would interact with Drytron cards, and I think I need to make some changes to the main deck, but I wanted to show you what I played anyway. I did go 5-0 at this local, so I was actually kind of proud of it, having not played in a couple months in IRL. So with that being said, enough about the deck profile. Let's go ahead and get into it real quick. So to start off, we'll show the zoo monsters this time. It is a little different than the last time I did this deck profile, but we are playing 3 copies of Whiptail still. This is one of the ones I do want to cut down on. The problem is in the zoo deck, Whiptail is one of the best way to deal with a lot of cards that are non-targeting. That being said, you have to get up your battle phase to do that, so keep that in mind. But I think you still have to play 3. I'm still playing 3 copies of Ram. I still think it's the best one, even though there's been a big decline in the use of impermanence. But for turn 1 Dryden, it has the best stats, so that's why I think you need to play it. Plus, it's the best way to play against high-impact cards like Gamma, which brings into the next zoo monster, which I'm only playing 2 copies of Thoroughblade. A lot of game 1s, even if you draw like Thoroughblade and a zoo monster discard, I won't activate the Thoroughblade simply because I don't want to play into a high-impact trap like Gamma or anything like that, unless I have a way to back it like Reborn or something like that, but those are few and far in between. And the best part about this deck is it plays through a lot of hand traps very easily, so I don't want to set myself up for an auto loss just because I got greedy. So as the game progresses and stuff like that, being able to draw extra cards out of your deck is actually super important, so that's why we're still playing 2. We're still playing 1 copy of Rat, because I am still playing 1 copy Zoodiac combo, because I think it's very, very important. It does arguably come out a lot of game 2 and 3s, depending, because if I go second, combo and this comes out immediately, because that's the only reason we're playing Raz, because of combo. And then I did make room for 1 Bunny Blast. I think you really do need this against Virtual World, because Quinlong's a really hard card to deal with, and this just makes it to where your monsters can't be banished by that card. So that's it for the zoo monsters. It's still 10 zoo monsters. On to the Dogmatika portion of the deck. I'm only playing 2 copies of Ecclesia. You only need to resolve 1 to really put yourself ahead in position. So that's why we're still playing Desires, obviously, but I don't think it's as necessary to have 3 in your deck. So we cut that down to 2. I always saw what I needed. I never banished both of them off Desire, so it was really good. 2 copies of Fleur de Lis. Arguably, you could probably play 1 copy, but like I said, we're playing Desire, so that's why I'm playing multiple copies. But this card's also really important, because it's an interruption still, and it pumps all your Dogmatika cards, because this in Ecclesia is 5k damage every single time. So you just need to find the missing 3 every time you go in for game push, and it's really important. That's it for the actual main deck monsters. On to the hand traps, which are technically main deck monsters, but not monsters you summon most of the lists. But we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It's the most generic hand trap right now. It gets coverage across the board for all decks. That's why we're still playing it. And then I'm still opting to play 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. Arguably, I don't think this card is very... Me, personally, I don't think it's very good against Drytron, especially if they know their combos. They can just play around it. But everything else I think it's really good against, so that's why I went ahead and played it. Plus, it gives you that extra 3k that you need with your Dogmatika cards if you're going for a game push, because you can clear the Nibiru token very easily. Admittedly, I don't know if I'll continue main decking this going forward, but I think the card's really high impact. That's why I did. Now, on to the spells. A card that I think was insane for me all day long was Triple Tactics Talents. I don't know, it's hit or miss with me with this card, because like I played it like this week, and like it was super, super high impact every time I drew it. It let me crack a lot of boards going second. I got a lot of free hand knowledge. I did have to use the effect to draw 2 once, because my opponent stopped my Nadir Servant, and I had just like no way to play. So I had to draw and see 2 more cards, but I ended up losing that game anyway. But most of the time, you don't activate the draw 2. You're activating to take a card out of your opponent's hand, or you're taking some. Like, I can't tell you how many Borreload Savages I took, or Battle Butlers. I took a lot of Battle Butlers. And then against Avery, I had a really cool play where I baited out an interruption from him, and then I activated Talents because he activated the Magistus Fusion monster, I think it's Awis or something like that, to take my Chakanine. And then I talents back to my Chalk and I continue to play and crack his board. So this card's super high impact. I think if I'm going to continue playing Zoo, I'm definitely going to play this. Especially like more pure Dogmatika variants. I am playing 3 copies of Droplets. It was really good for me, personally. Especially like when your like Zoo monster is about to get destroyed anyway by card effects. You can get like value out of them. And get like free negations and stuff like that. Plus, being able to decrease your monster's attack points by half is actually really important in this deck. Because a lot of your monsters, other than Nibiru in your main deck, are really, really small. So I think that came up a lot. And then my favorite card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Apparently is Nadir's Servant. I love playing this card and everything. I think this card is just super high impact. It always progresses the game state forward. It always does something for you, whether it's progressing your game state, cracking a board, or whatnot. Like, this card's just insane. I love playing it. I love its interaction, mechanic, like all of it. I could talk about this card for days. The real reason to play the deck is 3 copies of Ultimate Rare Tenki. You gotta be ulti. Absolutely have to be ulti. Or like you just can't play Zoo. But yeah, it's like the world's greatest Ash bait. Because I swear, every time I saw Tenki, I had a Zoo monster in hand already. So I'd activate Tenki, my opponent would be forced to Ash it. Because again, hand traps aren't very good against this deck. But you want to keep me away from the Zoo engine, and I just summoned a Zoo monster anyway. But that's probably like my favorite part about this entire deck is his hand traps just aren't very good against it. Depending on who you're playing against, I guess. But that's just my experience so far. And then the card I never saw in all 5 of my matches, never even drew it, was Zoodiac Barrage. Theoretically, the card's really good, but I didn't draw it, so there you go. Still playing Desires. Best card for consistency in your deck. Honestly, everything in your deck's mainly 3-0, so you don't really care what you banish. And it's very rare that you banish like anything like Key or like anything like that, really. Not much to say on that one. My Soul card, Monster Reborn. I swear this card stays glued to my hand. But yeah, not much to say on that one. And then the only trap cards I play are 2 copies of Dogmatika Punishment. I have like a love-hate relationship with this card because like it's super high impact, but at the same time, like if you're forced to use it, then the following turn you can't go into your Zoo combos or like any Zoo plays because like you're just locked out of the extra deck, right? So like it like kind of halts your turn, but like a lot of times you just have to flip it because it just game every time you do it. And then the last card I played is 1 copy of Zoodiac Combo. We're not playing Pot of Avarice or anything like that at all, really, because we're playing the Rat and stuff like that. So if you have access to this and you send a turn 1, like your opponent can't stop you because once you resolve the effect to put like Zoo monsters back in your deck and draw a free card, like the game's over. Like they can't stop it. But that is the main deck. It is 40. We'll go on to the extra deck. Still patiently waiting for the day he comes back. 1 copy of Drident. Not much to say. It's Drident. You summon it turn 1, and then from the rest of the game on there, you're just recycling with Chakanine, and usually it's just too much for you. Especially if you resolve the Drident once, and then bring it back and resolve Chakanine, it's really hard for your opponent to keep up. So, the second best card in my extra deck, or we'll say third because the best card's coming up here pretty soon. But Chakanine's crazy. It lets you recycle your Drident, and you get to keep playing. 3 copies of Tiger Mortar. Arguably, I never went into 3 during the tournament, but maybe it is. But I might cut one of these because there's a lot of times I had 2 level 4s on board, and I could have really made an Emerald, so I might be doing that here pretty soon. I don't know. 2 copies of Borbo. Being able to have access to 2 is very, very important. Hasn't changed. And then 1 copy of Hammer Calling. It's good for utility. And then for the non-Zoo cards, the reason to play the deck is 2 Zeus. You're essentially playing... So basically, my joke is turn 1, you play Zoo. Turn 2 and past, everything's Zeus control. You're putting this card on the board and you're making your opponent deal with it. The idea is if you summon 1, the game should be over, but we play the second one if the first one gets stopped. Someone said that I should probably play 3, but I think that's just too much. So yeah, 2 copies of Zeus. And then Drill Driver Vespanado. Basically we're just playing this for game pushes because you need ways to turn your Zoo monsters that have no materials underneath them into legitimate threats, and this is one of them. And then the 2 cards I play for Nadir's Servant is still 1 copy of Entis and 1 copy of Titaniclad the Ash Dragon. Both come up. You need them for Nadir's Servant. You need them for all your plays. And that was my Dogmatika Zoo list. Note, after recording this video and stuff like that, I did finally get my cards in that I was missing from Genesis Impact, so I can actually bring you some of the new decks I've been wanting to do, like Magic Ishidal, Drytron, Live Twin Eldritch, like all those. I can finally start doing that. So those are going to be the next profiles I do. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the X2 Drop podcast that we've been doing weekly again. Dog has no sauce. This deck is probably my favorite, and we'll catch you guys in the next video, okay? Peace.